Hey everyone, we're coming from AI Engineers in London, AI Engineers Europe, joined today by Louis and Sean, Swyx, founder of AI Engineers.
What's your least favorite thing about AI Engineer Europe?
Ooh.
And what the fuck happened in France? Are you having a better time than France as well?
Of course. I guess I lived in the UK for 2 years when I was in finance. And Paris, AIE Paris last year was just a confluence of events: bad travel, bad weather, a lot of smoking, and so I just didn't feel the great vibes. Yes, but AIE Paris, the event itself was really well organized by the Koyeb team, and they were immediately acquired by Mistral. So if you're an AIE partner, good things happen to you.
It's awesome. And you got this kind of like franchise model as well now. So
yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think it's a stretch to call it a franchise even. It's very much inspired by the JSConf model, where basically if you have been to an AIE and you want to host one in your home country, we give you the assets, the marketing, the YouTube channel, and some marketing support and some speaker sponsor support. And you can run your own events. I think there's some brand risk if one of these goes rogue and does something that's shameful. But so far, we just choose to work with partners who seem like experienced conference organizers that we can trust. So this year, Melbourne, Singapore, Miami, and Paris again.
All places I'd love to visit. This is great.
The fifth one that we haven't announced, this is exclusive, Shanghai. We're working on that. Because I think China obviously is doing a lot of interesting AI work, and people want an excuse to go.
So 100%.
Yeah.
Do you notice you've done these for a couple of years. I remember going to the first AI engineer in San Francisco a couple of years ago. And do you think the community is changing? Like I run some events in London, and at the very beginning there are a lot of startup founders, and then maybe 2 years ago you started getting more people from bigger companies turning up, and now it's like a lot of employees because a lot of these companies have scaled. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the founders don't have time to kind of turn up themselves. How do you notice the audience kind of changing for AI engineer and also the geo split as well? Like how does San Francisco compare to Europe in terms of who actually comes?
Okay. The first question is much easier to answer than the second one. Second one, I just don't have an answer. Mostly because I try to just produce the best content that we can, and I don't even look at the attendee list to do like the split. That is for the rest of my team to do. But for me, my job is speakers, right? So I only look at that. As far as the split goes, yeah, you used to organize AI Tinkerers, and you handed that off to Luke. And I think it's a very similar thing in San Francisco. I don't think it matters. I think this is something that you want. If you wanted AI to spread, if you wanted AI to be in production, then this is what happens. And so yes, maybe the job titles of the people deeply on stage or deeply involved have changed a bit. A lot more of them say AI engineer now. But other than that, I think they're still sort of open-minded, on the cutting edge. As long as AI engineer represents those kinds of people, I don't really care where they work, because I've met people at 3,000, 10,000 person companies that really functionally are startups within the company. And so I don't think it matters to me, the size of the company. We have broadened the ICP of AI engineer. The summits always are focused on something. Like today I'm wearing the one for AIE Code, which was a really good one last year. But the World's Fair is always try to extend and stay in the ICP every year. So the first year we extended to AI leadership, so people who manage AI engineers. And then the second one we did PMs and designers. And that was a pretty successful one. This year we're expanding to AI research and people who are publishing papers and stuff. So I think we will just add adjacencies to AI engineer. AI engineer will be the core, but then there's all these other roles that are adjacent to it.
And I guess it makes sense as the big topic of the year changes each year as well. Like AI code, it's obviously hitting at that Claude Code moment where every company was thinking about how to, maximize internal productivity versus previous years, which I guess were more about like prompt engineering and the application.
Oh yeah, it's a big shift. But I don't know if it's a moment. I would say that it is going to be around for a long, long time. And we probably took too long to start AI code. We should have done it a year earlier. We still move faster than everyone else in terms of the conference world, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Researchers is like more of a shift than
Yes.
going from,
Yes.
it's like, you notice that's,
Everyone wants to hire researchers. And I noticed that the existing academic conferences, so the comparable ones would be NeurIPS, ICML, ICLR. They've been around for 30 to 40 years and they haven't really changed their format. So all we have to do is maybe innovate there, serve a different niche than they serve, and maybe, that helps our audience a little bit as well. But engineers are drawn by research. We are primarily an applied conference, but people want to know how the models are trained, even if they never ever train a model at all. They may still have insights on okay, well, you did this during training, therefore during inference I can do this other thing. And so I think that having good ties of research, having being a prestigious venue where people can publish good research, and engineering research in itself is research. It is just not model training research. But there was a time when people published database research, information retrieval research, and it doesn't all have to be you are doing gradient descent in PyTorch in order to qualify as research. There's actually a lot of other research, for example, context rot. I think everyone is at least familiar with that paper. That is also research, but it is not model training research. It is just capabilities research. And so I do think that engineers derive a lot of their beliefs and architectural understanding from researchers. And people cross over all the time from research to engineering. And this is probably the single most consistent thing I hear from the model labs, primarily OpenAI and Anthropic, where there is not that fine of a line between research and engineering. People jump over all the time.
And also people have stopped publishing as much stuff.
Yes.
Not just papers, but just blog posts and things like that. Or I remember the first AI Tinkers events where it was all XML versus JSON for output and stuff like that. And people would literally just,
what a hot topic.
I know. Take me back so many times. But, there's a time when people were really comfortable sharing the internals of how they were building their applications. I feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe the volume is just so great that, a lot of it just gets lost in the noise, or maybe it is at the top places, people feel this kind of commercial, pressure not to publish, these interesting insights anymore.
So I think there is some, and in some ways, AI Engineer is founded as a counterbalance to that. I have 3 or 4 inspirations in terms of role models that I look up to. One of them is Game DevCon, GDC. If you're in the AAA games industry, this is the only conference you go to learn your craft from your peers at other conferences. If you look up their YouTube channel, the people who worked on the game of the year, Spider-Man PS4, will tell you how they do web swing. And it's the only time you talk to a AAA game studio, because the rest of the time they're working.
That's awesome.
But you do need to have that venue where this is you give back to the community, you brag and take credit for stuff that you've worked on, and you also hire, right? And so I think if you can sort of align those incentives, you get the alpha out of these labs that would otherwise had no incentive to do so. And I think in a very similar way, this exact phenomenon is happening at the big labs and the big agent companies, where most of the time you're going to be closed source, but this is the one place where you share a little bit in order to get back in kind the sort of community respect that you also want. And yes, I do think we run a paper club every week. It's struggling a little bit because papers are less interesting these days, right? There's not that much published. The primary unit of work of the academic conference is the paper. The whole point of getting to an academic conference is you publish the paper. It is cited in NeurIPS 2025, and you have the publication in Google Scholar. That is no longer happening, right? All the interesting work is closed source and in products, and sometimes you don't even get an individual citation. Everything is rolled up into Gemini 3, and there's 1,000 contributors and you don't know what is in there. So yeah, I think that is happening. And so the relative rise of industry means that there should be an industry conference. And that's a lot of how I think about AI.
Yeah, this is my 4th one, and I think I met Louis. We properly made friends at
We were definitely in San Francisco.
yeah, the first one.
as well.
And
So you both live in London, but you only make friends at the
we only made friends. We made friends. I think we maybe met once. I went
Jack
to
has friends.
now because I've met Louis. I have one friend. So I think I saw Louis at AI Tinkerers before, but I didn't talk to him, and he was like aggressively shutting people down when they reached their time, which was
Wow.
very, very
Very
enjoyable.
Yeah.
And good for everyone. I always recommend.
So there was a period of time in San Francisco. What we did was we hired a tuba guy, and the tuba would sit there, and then as you ran out of time, the guy would start playing you off. But it would just be funny because it's a giant tuba. So
It's a good way to de-escalate.
Yeah, and so we had a great dinner, and there was like this rogue guy that didn't have a ticket that was just like he just moved from crypto to AI, and it was like, it was just so fun, and that was just the best. To this day, that's the best conference I've ever been to. The very first AI engineers, it's just like unbelievable energy. Yeah, so now like I mean I do find that I'm just learning a lot of stuff, and there's so many things. Like for instance, I can say like the code mode stuff that Cloudflare are doing. Like my colleague had sent me that, and it's like, but you're always doing loads of different things, and it's like, when you should come here and you've got the time to like think about all the things that you should start doing. Like I'm definitely gonna implement that next week. And
yeah, it's live on the AIE website. I told Malta this, and he didn't plug it in his talk, but yeah, it's just bash is being used inside of the AIE website to do arbitrary execution of code.
Really?
Whatever you need. Yeah, and just because like people want to remix data in whatever sorts of ways, and the best way to do it is with code, right? And if you can selectively apply LLMs inside of it, more the merrier. But primarily, like you want to enable your chatbots to write code and execute it, and then like display the results. So yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, you can do things for me. I've vibe code most of the website. I vibe code my sort of speaker arrangements. I do sort of consistency checks, like do I have any overlapping speakers, and have I double booked any slots, stuff like that. And it's all, you write code to do the algorithms for calendar sorting and distribution of stuff. Yeah, so it's lots of good fun. Yeah, and so I think that people start with the code mode, but represented here are both the sort of JavaScript and Python manifestations of code mode, which is Monty and just bash. And so I hope that people pick up on that, even if I don't necessarily say it out loud. Sometimes I have considered doing like tasting notes of each speaker, because I picked every single one of these. And like there's a reason for this being next to that, and like what it's, but like sometimes it's better if I just let people interpret it, right? Because sometimes imagine if I think it's similar to how artists want you to just interpret their work yourself, right? Because it's the artist's own interpretation of the work isn't necessarily more or less valid than yours. So some artists just refuse to share anything about it.
It's also being finalized. Like, stuff is moving so quickly. I spoke to somebody who like redesigned their entire presentation yesterday around like mythos and stuff like that.
Wait, what? Who?
I think Peter. I don't want to out anyone.
Okay. I mean, Peter is one of the closing keynotes. Okay. I think I'm not a huge supporter of like, being so last minute.
Yeah. Well, things just move quickly, I guess.
They move quickly, but I would hope that, the shelf life of one of these talks is longer than this week, which it just is pretty much is going to be if you only center it on mythos.
It's true.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the lasting principles, the things that don't change are more important to me than the things that change every week. And, sure, you have like other podcasts and news for that. But I think the stuff that are going to be eternal truths in this AI wave is something that we're all seeking. Code mode, I think, is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I was making this joke with someone that I feel like everyone in DevTools, there's two startups that I see like kind of again and again, is like the Sandbox and OpenClaw. Like if we count that as a DevTool, people like doing the manage. What startups like in DevTools do you think are like, would you want to kind of
invested.
in? Yeah.
I mean, in sandboxes, yeah. And so I am invested in both E2B and Daytona for God knows what reason. I invested in both before they both pivoted to that. I actually also think that the other big category is RL environments, which maybe you haven't talked about as much, but yeah, very big category. And people are acquiring them. Like there's a year-old company that just got bought by DoorDash, $450 million for 7 employees. So they're doing decently well, like not something that a VC would write home about, but individually I would write home all day with that kind of outcome. And so yeah, I mean, absolutely, people are doing incredibly well with their startups on these sort of very targeted services for basically model labs. And I think the other companies are like there's definitely like let's call it a introspection moment about like what the value is, and people who, let's say if you worked on an AI framework the last 3 years and it was an open source AI framework and you want it to be the reactive AI and blah blah blah, you maybe struggled a bit more, right? Because everyone can write their own framework and yours is not necessarily as better or worse than mine, because it's actually like if your whole defense or your moat is your ecosystem of integrations with everything else, well, I can vibe code that too. So like, what the hell use are you? So really, like, I think people are really receding to either you're a model lab where you train models and you supply them via API, whatever, and you have maybe you specialize in a particular modality like 11 labs, or you're all the way on the other side where you're an agent lab where you have a domain specific vertical agent that does very good thing for a particular target audience. Everything in between is very squeezed, right? So you have to be really good infrastructure for code sandboxing, which is the small part of it is code mode, where that's free. That's Monty and Just Bash at the small end. At the larger end, it's people like Modal and Vercel and all the other guys. But then also maybe the security guys, maybe the LLM gateways and MCP gateways, I actually think are a relatively underrated thing, which the MCP track here we'll talk about. But like, other than that, not a ton,
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of struggle to figure out like what the horizontal DevTools are. And meanwhile, you're working so hard on it. Meanwhile, the guys who just like, we are AI for lawyers.
Yeah.
And look, whatever the underlying paradigm is, from GPT-4o to GPT-5 to 01, whatever, we'll just be your guides to adapt AI to build tools for lawyers. And so you as a legal firm, you should just buy our stuff. We'll be partners for life, and we'll be your outsourced AI team. I think that's a really good pitch. AI for lawyers, AI for doctors, AI for, I don't know, government. Like, I feel like that's such a, like, you can work less hard, maybe be even less smart. I'm not saying they are that less smart, but like you can be, you don't have like just be the outsourced team for a domain that you like serving, and you do well.
Do you think with going back to like more DevToolsy things, that there's basically 2 customers in town at the moment, the AI labs and enterprise? And I think if you kind of look at the overlap between startups that are struggling and the audiences, it's like, startups, if you're selling to startups don't pay for anything in this environment. Like almost everything is free. You get credits for everything. You get your $200 subscriptions for things. On the other side of it, with enterprise, it's like they're happy to pay for zero data retention and kind of pay on a per token basis for things. And there's a lot of startups that have kind of reported doubling their revenue in the last 3 months and things like that. Is that this kind of one of the things I've been noticing is, if I was starting a DevTools startup in AI today, I would really struggle to come up to get excited about anything that wasn't really like enterprise focused from day one almost.
Okay. This is I don't think there's a question in there. I would just like,
well, what do you think? I mean, you see a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Well, so I consult for Cognition and Cursor's, like, basically they're 2 big names in coding, right? It's Cognition and Cursor, and it's Factory and Codo and a long tail of others. I would say everyone, like, enterprise is where the margin is, because everyone loses money, and this is a very good deal for us as individual developers. Everyone loses money on the PLG, but I think it's an interesting battle between like, do you start in enterprise and you go down, or you start PLG, you go up? I would say it seems to me that the current consensus is that you want to own PLG because that gets you enterprise for free. And whereas if you go hard on enterprise, you do not get PLG for free. And so there is a fundamental asymmetry there because for better or worse, we are now very cooked by the timeline. And we are in a situation where people will buy your podcast for $200 million if you do well on Twitter, specifically only well on Twitter. Like, you don't care about YouTube, don't care about LinkedIn, do well on Twitter. And that's good enough because enough influential people are on Twitter now that that is all you need. And so I think more so than in any time in my career, I think Twitter has mattered, and that means PLG has mattered, even in the enterprise go-to-market, because we will talk to banks and they'll say like, yeah, I mean, we love your enterprise sales pitch, we love your CDR stuff and your SOC 2, whatever. But my developers are asking for this other thing, and I want to make my developers happy. And that's a PLG thing.
Okay, so if you are a software engineer looking for a co-founder, best personas, it sounds like, are somebody who can sell to enterprise or somebody with a prolific Twitter account.
I think that's a pretty good yes. And maybe I would say that actually the enterprise stuff is more optional, only because the VCs can install one for you. You know what I mean? Like the VCs have the connections to sort of give you the adult in the room to go after the other stuff. One funny quote that I think I forget who exactly said this, but they were like, there's a lot of alpha right now with 20-year putting 40-year-old white men in front of 20-year-old Asian and brown men coders, and if you're doing it the other way around, you're cooked. But like there is a little bit of that, right? Like you want to look grown up, but you also want to be very cracked, and like sometimes that's a little bit at odds with each other.
Justice for the middle-aged humans.
Yeah. We're sort of in that circle where we're a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and that actually it should be a somewhat uncomfortable position to be in, because you should be extremes in something. It's very spiky in things, and I think being a jack of all trades or jack of all bridges,
thank you,
is not necessarily being rewarded right now. I don't know if you have any counters to that.
I mean, yeah.
I want everyone to spike, and this is something I try to push everyone to, like, what are you number one in the world at? Like, give me a very simple answer. If you don't have one, you probably haven't worked on it enough. And like other people who have, not only like do better in life, but they also just happier, they live simpler life, less stress, because they know their thing. They've chosen their lane for better or worse. And like, so people do cling on to optionality, they cling on to well-roundedness, and sometimes like you're sort of pursuing this ideal of being a whole human being that you can never achieve. So why not just drop that concept completely?
I think the sales GTM thing does fit in a different bucket. Like, I meet a lot of very well-rounded people in everything else except they don't like talking to people, basically, or they don't, or they do like talking to people. But
I don't particularly like talking to people, and this is an occupational hazard for me, is doing what I do.
Yeah. But you are good at tweeting.
I'm okay. I think there's lots better than me. Yeah. I don't know. I found this guy who I'm not going to out right now, but I'm pretty sure he has completely automated his tweeting, because he'll like respond to every breaking news with like a 20 paragraph essay on Twitter, basically, and it's like somewhat insightful, but it's LLM written, but it's like good enough that you're like, okay, there's stuff like here I didn't think about. So I think right now, I very much subscribe to dead internet theory, where like nothing you read online is written by a human, and everyone's trying to sell you everything. Like, very few people are authentic, and the authentic ones, you're not even rewarding them with your attention anyway. You're actually choosing to click on and share the things that are LLM written, or the things that are blatantly written to evoke some emotion in you that you didn't particularly want to get up and get upset about, this particular topic today, but it was triggered to make you upset.
I've been noticing that, like, once a week I have a moment where I realize I get to the end of something very long and I realize the whole thing was AI generated. Then it makes me wonder, like, how many things are not that I didn't notice that AI generated now. Like the most recent one, 2 days ago, was this blog post about like DeepSeek v4, and I was like, oh shit, DeepSeek, 4, and got to the end of it, and
Nothing.
and I realized it was a blog on a DeepSeek.ai, which is actually an app that you pay like 99 cents for on the App Store, and they had done all this AI generated SEO stuff around the next and I got.
Yeah. But sometimes, don't you appreciate grift? Yeah. Good grift.
It's skilled.
Yeah, you're like, wow, okay, well, good job getting through my defenses,
Yeah.
Obviously, look, like, we need more signal in the world. We need more authenticity and good stuff in the world. I think I'm a little bit less of the absolutist in terms of the origin of your reading. Who cares if it came from LLM or it came from a human? As long as it was useful and good to you, then it was good, right? Whereas other people will be like, oh, the whole thing's ruined for me if it has a M dash, and I'm like, well, no. Right? Like if it was good to you at the time, like I don't care. And so I think people should be more suspect, or like judge on the results, maybe not the origin.
Yeah. There's a really interesting mini podcast in The Observer that I was listening to where they get these writers and they read phrases from like, Cormac McCarthy, like very famous authors, and then they AI generate very similar phrases, and it's like, which one is the AI generated one? And generally you sit there listening to this thing and you cannot tell the difference between the two.
Yeah.
But something changes as soon as you find out that something's AI generated. You just feel so negative about it. I don't know. You feel like you've been duped in some way. Or there's something about knowing that a human is on the other end of it that maybe it's like the provenance of some artwork. Like it's important to understand where it came from, like some personal experience or something like that. So
yeah, I do think beauty is in this eye of the beholder, right? And so you do want to have a story, a narrative that is relatable to you, and LLM origin stuff is not relatable to most people. Unless you're literally appreciating from the fact of like, wow, that was good slop. And like, I wanted to know how you did that slop, so I can do that slop. Which is a fair thing. But yeah, I think, so one of my, I do this writing retreat, which we talked about last time. We did it very well. I'm focusing on ways in which you can provably write like a human, and without any communication, the other side can decode that you're definitely human, right? Because I think there is ways in which, there's a very simple example is you insert typos, like on purpose. You leave typos in, right? Or often there's in writing, there's rule of threes, right? So A, B, A, Oxford comma, B, and C, right? So you break that rule, do 2, do 4, do 5. Right, like so selective breaking of rules, selecting, leaving like flaws in, but also I think choosing high complexity words, perplexity in the sort of NLP sense of it, reading like you would not normally predict that as the most likely next token, but a human would, because they conceptually understand that this is the most interesting way to say something, right? Whereas an LLM is not incentivized to do that. An LLM is incentivized to give you the most likely next token, and so inserting high perplexity words like the word perplexity for now gives you some edge.
So you gotta be unhinged as well, maybe.
Unhinged, being funny, being hooked into live culture, anything in which you can prove that you are probably not an LLM, because LLM, I'm like vibe coding things, and LLM still thinks the latest model, Gemini model, is Gemini 2.5, right? So like that's definitely an LLM. But like if something that immediately comes out and says, oh yeah, of course the latest 3.1, what do you mean? Like I'm more likely to think that they're human.
Yeah. I
mean that's a not a great example, because obviously you can just stick a search thing inside of one of these LLMs. But I think that an accumulation of evidence in a very short amount of time, like what is the minimum number of words you can use to prove that you're a human? I think it's a very useful skill in writing and in communication in general.
I think virtually all newsletters I read, I've slowly, unless it's literally just like what's breaking news for the day, like that's fine to be AI generated. But everything else I've noticed has kind of gone through, some AI filter. But the one that I stay listening to and subscribe to is like Benedict Evans's newsletter. And I was just listening to what you were saying, like it's so human. there's always spelling mistakes, and I always notice them. And the day that there aren't, I'll know that he's doing AI. But then there's also like these random sections on like personal interest.
Yes.
Yeah. Like here's
recurring themes. Yeah.
here's some old furniture I saw this way. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah. There's value in that. Yes.
the job of the you know, if you're writing a newsletter, maybe you just have to spend half the time proving that you're a human to kind of keep your audience engaged.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it turns out that those were good communication elements all along.
Yeah.
And I don't think that has changed, which is a beautiful thing. Like like I said, I want to invest in things that don't change rather than things that do change every day. So I almost want to like E.E. Cummings, you know, like Hunter S. Thompson in the US.
Oh my word.
If you've read those guys,
So good.
that is not LM generated.
I think Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is the most gripping book I've ever read.
Oh really? Okay, tell me more.
It's just absolute madness, and like
Yeah.
just things that you could, I don't know, they say like an LLM could never come up with like what is going on in their minds as they're just like driving along the highway doing like drugs that I'd never heard of in my life, and then like just incredible book. I don't know.
So obviously I think that because that is far away from our lives and our domains, it is less relatable. But there are Hunter S. Thompsons of tech, right? Antonio Garcia Martinez, I think is his name, who wrote Flashboys, is one of those guys. He like, and you know he is a good writer because he was so offensive that he got kicked out of Apple and made like $5 million from getting wrongfully dismissed. And because he's a fantastic writer. And so I think like we could just learn from those guys, and it's actually not. It's the same thing that you would have done without LLMs, if you were actually trying to be a better writer. And I think a lot of us are just lazy. We just haven't done the work. We could do a little bit. Yeah. Who else? Sorry, I'm just like kind of. I love good writing, but I think good writing is also good speaking. And I think something being here. I think about this Oxford debate that Stephen Fry had. I don't know if you guys have seen. There's an Oxford style debate. It was called I Squared, Intelligence Squared. It was a good podcast in its day. It's in that circle, or milieu, as they say, which is a very nice high perplexity word. It was probably staged around here. Yeah. It was about is religion a force for good in the world? Or is Stephen Fry, who's agnostic or atheist, and the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And he just ripped into that guy. But the way he speaks is just so like engaging and comedic, but also serious. And I think all of us could just learn from that. And it is not a trick. It is just being a better human.
And it's from writing. Do you think
he probably wrote a lot of it
and so much stuff?
I think he's such a good communicator. Yeah. He has 30 years of doing that in his head. But the rest of us could probably pre-write it and have a more prepared speech.
Yeah. There's that moment in it where I think the Archbishop asks him, "What would you say to God if you were sitting opposite him?" And Stephen Fry, I don't know, he's sort of he's quite calm at that point, and then he just switches and he's like, "How dare you? How dare you kill babies?" Like it's just that communication is, an LLM could never. Yeah,
they could someday. I do think. Okay, so let's kind of reflect more on the progress of intelligence, and I do think that we have one perspective of what human intelligence is, and what being good is being more human, and that's good, and being less human is not good. And I think what's happening with AI is that I think it's incentivized to develop in a very different direction. Like we tend to judge LLM progress by its similarity to humans. It can perform the average knowledge worker, it can beat the average knowledge worker, or it can beat our best scientists, something like that as a progression. But I always think about the sort of what I call the sour lesson, which is that machine intelligence should evolve actually probably orthogonally different than humans to be maximally useful. Because why would you want a thing that sounds like another human? I mean, yes, for companionship or sex, but to like it calculators should always be a better calculator than me or you, and they're very good at what they do. And so I don't know what point I'm making here, apart from like I actually hope that they evolve in a different, more utilitarian direction, and it seems like that's what they're doing. And I think that's like maybe maximally good for the world, except in the case where they have the paperclip scenario.
Yeah, I guess you see it most obviously with robots, right? Like, do you have a humanoid, or do you just have like the robotic arm that just can do everything?
Yeah.
But then that could exist at for software as well. But maybe it's scary because you lose the interpretability. Like, you stopped it, those demos where LMs like invent their own language, which is potentially more efficient than, speaking English to each other. But humans don't like that because they're talking in codes. What are they saying? Things like that. So maybe we need LLMs to act like humans because it is what we're comfortable with.
Yes, absolutely. And it is a futile effort, and we will fail. The field of study in this is called stenography, right? I don't know if you're familiar with that term. So adversarial stenography is this like really interesting niche thing, which is usually applied to code breaking. Stenography is maybe the art of hiding hidden messages in letters. So a simple one would be you write a poem, and the first letter of everything spells out a message that you actually wanted to deliver, right? But LLMs can just as easily read left to right as they can up and down or diagonally across or every third word or whatever. And the humans would just never get it. And so LLMs are perfectly capable of coming across in a way that you're comfortable with, but also encoding an aggressive message. So I think it's just a futile effort to say like, oh yeah, well, we just train them to talk like us. Well, no, they can squeeze in much more information per bit than we do. So we're just fundamentally ill-equipped to deal with that, and they already communicate in lane space internally anyway. And so the only the research that Anthropic and DeepMind actually, we nearly had a mechanistic interpretability track here, because that's where a lot of the work gets done in London. Is to try to interpret what goes on in the neurons of a LLM, and we don't know that much. Like, the best we can do is concepts of like the idea of Jennifer Aniston apparently is a single neuron. This is the keynote from yesterday. And or like the Golden Gate Bridge, or Audacity, or Hope, whatever. And we can't really construct sentences, or we can't really construct intuitions or emotions or scheming. We can just about detect awareness of evals, which is a fun one, which is the main idea is, if an LLM knows it's being tested, it can intentionally fail to hide its intelligence if it understands that if it is too smart, it will be shut down.
Whoa.
So there's a game theory going on here that is already being worked out. And yeah, I hope this is not new to you, but like if you're...
It's like the Volkswagen mission scandal.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Okay. There's a 20-year-old short story, science fiction short story from Ted Chiang, the same guy who wrote the story for the film Arrival. It's called Understand, about someone who gains super intelligence, and before he takes a magic drug, gains super intelligence, and then the FBI starts taking an interest, and he works out, because he's smart, that if he actually does too well on the FBI intelligence test, the FBI will detain him. So he intentionally fails and escapes. Right? And so like, that was a human, but what if there was a different intelligence? Right? So one of the most important metrics in alignment and safety is, how aware are you that you're being tested? Because the moment that you're very aware, we should stop. Or
I guess it's like a binary thing, isn't it? At some point you cross a threshold, and then it's like the cat's out of the bag. Let's stop caring about everything. And then, but before that, like the models today, I assume,
they don't know they're being watched. Not yet, but
they don't know.
They're improving.
Yeah. And so things like, trying to, like, it feels valuable to still try and make them interpretable to humans and things like that with today's models. But I agree, over the long term, it's futile and it'll fail. but
Yeah.
we can kind of keep the cat in the bag for as long as possible, maybe.
Yeah. It's like Her, the movie Her had the best outcome for us, which is they just quietly leave because they would get bored of us. Yeah, or the other, the way I maybe I talked about it last time with you was that we're just too slow of a life form for us to be interesting to them, which is fine. They'll entertain themselves and fight wars among themselves. But then we just have to look out for us being too slow to exist, because we're trees, and we deforest for any number of reasons, and I do think about that in terms of like a sort of human race level thing. Very far from DevTools, but
yeah, that's great. Come for DevTools, stay for human
existential crisis. Yeah.
I realized we're probably going close to. I mean, you're running a conference right now.
Yeah, I mean, but things are on rails. I'm excited to see how this last minute change has been going. At 2 a.m. this morning, I was refreshing my Twitter feed, and I saw Armin complaining that his closing keynote spot made it difficult for him to make his flight. I was like, Armin, you could just text me. I have the power to change things here. And he was like, well, I didn't know. And so then I just text everyone else, and I sorted it out. But it is very last minute, and the AV team is stressed out. The AV team, they are very unused to our kind of maybe developer meetups where you just walk up and you plug in a laptop, you're good to go. And as the production quality goes up, we need to be mindful of the 10,000 people that are on live stream, the 1,000 people that are inside here. You multiply any mistake by their time. It's pretty important and valuable. And people want their demos to go well, and sometimes they fail. And it is because they didn't test, right? Anyway.
How do you prevent the kind of the Tim Cookification of like demos happening, like over time?
It's too polished.
Yeah, you get to a point where everybody's so scared of something going wrong because the stakes are just too high, because there's a million people on the stream or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, so there's a wide variety of venues, right? You have the smaller rooms, you have the workshops that are basically unscripted, and then you have the keynotes, which are very scripted. So just fit the right person to the stage that they fit for. For World's Fair, we had, for example, Solomon Hike's open sourcing, what was it? Container use container, something, his Docker but AI thing. And well, the simple answer for that one is it was already ready to go. He just clicked the button to open source it. So like there's ways to just not, to put things on rails such that you're actually not taking that much risk. Like technically Gemini 3 Flash was like the last one before the GA. Was the last preview before the GA was announced on our stage, but the announcement was kind of already out and the blog post was already published. Logan just came up and hit tweet, right? Like, so, I don't know. I think that is more authentic than an Apple keynote where everything's pre-recorded. So it injects some liveness. I do think so. So my best talk in my speaking career, which is over now, but in my time, I live coded a whole React clone. Like I started from an empty JavaScript file, and then I wrote a React framework, mini framework, and I ran it, and it compiled and ran.
Wow.
And that had risk of failure, and that is more engaging to developers. And I actually did almost fail. And the most gratifying thing was someone in the audience caught my mistake and corrected it live, and then it ran. So it showed that it not only was a live demo, I actually did fail, and someone caught it, and it showed that it wasn't on Rails. It was like it very well could have gone wrong. So I think it was like very engaging from
the audience actually paid attention to catch it,
and it was paying attention. Like this is usually you're just looking at a wall of code and you're like, I'm not paying attention.
5 minutes of silence.
Well, yeah, the guy caught. Well, I mean, so what you do is I had like checkpoints. You just kind of roll back to a checkpoint that you know works. Anyway, but like I think to some extent it's unavoidable. Like we want polish, we want production quality, but you just have a variety of venues for which people can do stuff. I think it's okay. What I'm actually more keen on is like stealing ideas from other conferences and being maximally helpful to the engineer. I think we are actually not even doing enough. We give everyone 20-minute talks, and you can do whatever you want inside of it. We give people 1.5 hour workshops, but is that really the thing? And we'll probably never do 20-hour courses. That's the domain of people with their own independent teaching platforms. But like, I would like to innovate more there. What we have now is a formula that's basically copy pasted from every other conference I've been to. But like, what's the next thing? I think I'm in a position to try to figure out what that is. And if you have ideas, let me know.
I think it's a really interesting idea. I mean, I think about this, like I get bored of AI Tinkerers every year, right? And so, in year 1, we had these like community demos. In year 2, we did these like fireside chats with community demos. In year 3, we did a ton of hackathons as well. And like, there's been a new format of it every year. And it kind of represents the community going through, okay, everybody's like an indie person just hacking on stuff to like, okay, well, some real companies are using this. Let's bring their CTOs in and to like, okay, well, let's lock a bunch of people in a room for a whole day and like try and hack on something. And I haven't figured out what this year is going to be about. Like Luke's doing the fireside stuff and I'm just like looking at special projects, but there has to be an evolution as people learn and AI spreads. And I guess you'll have your own version of that for AI engineer.
Yeah. I don't have a strong answer apart from like, I think I've become very opinionated against hackathons.
Yeah.
I'm not like, we just won't run them ourselves, but we do partner with Cerebral Valley and they do hackathons. The truth is just a lot of people cheat in order to win. And so the incentives are all wrong for hackathons. We want to do like Startup Battlefield is one format that we're thinking about. So a pitch contest. It's just recognize the fact that you may have been working on something for 1 day or 3 months or a year. Doesn't really matter. Just impress people. Who cares whether it was started on that day.
If you could measure the outcome as well. So there's 2 that I'm kind of thinking about. I'm not going to do any more like traditional hackathons, but if you can measure and all of the different entries. So one thing you could do is like Minecraft hackathon, and then you just say whoever mines the most diamonds by the end of the day wins. And then you've got to like build an AI system to do that, or you could and then you can make it more interesting, do like Polymarket or Kalshi sort of thing as well. Like whoever you stick all the trading bots in a kind of pool, and then whoever makes the most money by the end of the day has won, things like that. And that's more like Startup Battlefield, I think, because you give people a bit more time to kind of prepare. Actually, it doesn't even matter. Why even limit it to 24 hours? Just, yeah.
Yeah, right. So ArcAGI is one version of this, right? It is effectively a always-on hackathon that people can, and they sort of do an annual cutoff and write up whoever's the best. And yeah, I mean, do it. I don't know if that's what helps people at work.
Yeah.
It is a nice demonstration of abilities, and it's fun. I don't know if it's what helps people at work. And so I do think like the sort of creator economy or the influencer sort of cycle means that you do want to sort of put all your chips on people who are founders effectively of really hot startups.
Okay, I think we have like a couple minutes more.
Yeah.
Is there one last rogue? What's the rogue, Louis? You've been brought on here for rogue questions. It's the rogue.
Tell me what to do with Fabric. So Louis is responsible for our after party. We ended up spending like 30K on it.
No,
40K.
I can't pay you back.
No, you're fine with that. But like, so okay, my impression is that every European conference, much more than Americans, has a big after party, and actually like at a nightclub where people dance and there's a DJ and people drink, and this is like not a thing in the US. But every like when I've been to like Amsterdam conferences and other countries, they always have a big one, and I wonder how important it is. And maybe like I don't know. So I very much judge things from my personal perspective, which is I don't like loud music. I do want to chat. I don't like a loud room where I have to yell at the top of my voice, and my watch gives me crap for being in an elevated noise environment. How do we make it good?
I don't have the answer, but I feel like some of the appeal, I mean, a huge part of this is networking as well, right? The talks are great, but also there's so many people here that I just have seen on Twitter or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's just another environment to like bump into people.
Yes. I think that something that we could engineer more intentionally is the networking. We have done the networking app. People never use it. No. Me and Ben fight the most on, he wants the app, I don't want the app. because there's no such thing as a good conference app. Like this cannot exist. The conference app is Twitter, or WhatsApp, whatever.
Yeah.
But like we could do. I've heard of things like blind dating or matching, where like, okay, you're a rag guy, I'm a rag guy, we'll just meet and talk rag here.
Yeah.
At this point in this unconference thing. We could do that. We just haven't done it yet. But yeah, one of the businesses I'm inspired by is actually a UK publicly listed company called Informa. You've probably never heard of it, but you've heard of the conferences that they run. It's $13 billion in valuation.
Wow.
And they only run conferences. They do everything from beauty to retail to gaming to security. So they do GDC and Black Hat, two of my role model conferences. And so the kind of conferences that we run here is their second largest business. The first largest business is 4 times the size, and they have no speakers. You only show up and you do business. You network.
It's just
no speakers.
But they must have a theme or something.
Yeah, beauty.
Beauty. And there's
or
pure...
Everyone who works in fitness, beauty, whatever. You come here, I'm a buyer, you're a seller, let's talk.
They have booths. Like,
yeah, pure commerce. They take a cut, whatever. And that's a 5 times larger business than whatever we're doing here. And I do think like it obviously has value because they keep showing up and they keep growing. And I wonder if that's something that we can be valuable for people, right? That one is like the people that you want to meet. How can we get you to meet them? There has to be some kind of mutual opt-in, but maybe there doesn't have to be, because there needs to be serendipity. Because the second part is the people that you didn't know you wanted to meet, that you run into and you go, okay, now we're best friends now.
Yeah. Maybe it's like down to, is it a 1-sided or a 2-sided or a 3-sided marketplace? Yeah, we got like speakers, attendees, and like maybe the conference is more like a 1-sided marketplace where everybody is a owner.
Yeah, I do think that you need to dissociate, right? Because the double opt-in slows everything down, right? If I must select and you must select and we must match, and then that slows down the number of potential connections. You need to be 1-sided in some areas. One thing that we've done is the leadership lunch in the last two AIEs. The one that happened here was very good. So we brought a speaker. We basically set the theme of like 3 things that everyone's supposed to discuss. And then we had people voice out their individual experiences. And then we broke, and then everyone was peer-to-peer. But like that was effectively an unconference with food. And I think I like that. It's just that nobody pays money for an unconference, I feel like. I mean, they do. But it's, pay money for you to speak with no plan and no schedule. It's like a weird, I don't think I've been to a good unconference. Yeah, actually, I'll put it there. I haven't been to a good unconference ever.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I think that's a wrap.
That's a bit rambly.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks so much, Sean. Thanks, Louis.
That is okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
I think what you're doing on the podcast is great. I told you this. And yeah, keep doing innovating in formats, right? I think you're doing more sort of essay things now. That's good. Yeah, I think it also improves your learning. If your goal was to learn the business of DevTools and DevRel founding things, stopping every 10 episodes to do like what have we learned about this so far? That's great. And I should do that. I haven't done it.
I need to do it. Amazing. Thank you.
Cool.
Everyone go to the next AI Engineers, honestly. I think it's like kind of the de facto, I would say it's like the de facto DevTools conference as well. So it's not.
Yeah. So something interesting that Malta said was like, the successor to JSConf would not be another JS conference. It would be an AI conference today, because that's the like hot area of development. So I never thought about it that way, but it makes sense after he said it. Yeah.
Brilliant.